What is up, guys? In today's video, we are going to be revisiting some of the lost locations of Fortnite, and I'm going to talk about what I think of these spots, and then maybe some spots that I think are forgotten or not talked about as much that aren't mentioned in this video. This video is from Tyler. His video or channel will be linked down in the description below. If you enjoy this, give it a like, subscribe. Let me know which location you think has been, most forgotten about or most underappreciated in Fortnite, and let's get into it. This POI I loved. Like in chapter 1, Lazy Links, and then when it came back in the OG season we had, I didn't like it as much. I feel like how the game plays and how I play and how other people played, this POI didn't really stand up to the test of time.
Hundreds of locations in its history, but in this video I want to focus in on just a select few of what I believe to be Fortnite's most forgotten about named locations. These locations were only featured in one season of the game and for one reason or another have never come back.
I'll say, so he's picking things that were only in one season. We already know Faulty Splits is about to be on here, RIP.
Before we get into this video, if you go on to enjoy it, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe, of course, as always, and use code TYFRIES in the Fortnite item shop with your next purchase. But with all that out of the way, let's revisit some of Fortnite's lost and forgotten about locations. Of course, we begin our journey in Chapter 1, and let's go to Season 6 and talk about Leaky Lake. Leaky Lake was supposed to be a different iteration.
I actually loved this. So, this is my favorite iteration of Loot Lake, and this happened as a result of a live event. So we went into the live event, Loot Lake looked one way, and then we came out of the event and it was completely transformed. I thought it was really cool and really well done. It was still kind of just terrible because no Loot Lake was good, but this was my favorite version of Loot Lake.
I mean, it seems at this point we have gotten so many versions of Loot Lake, and this was one of them. It was introduced in Season 6 on October 10th, 2018 with the 6.02 patch. It saw several different forms. You had the big whirlwind and the cube above it, and
oh, I was thinking of the event one.
then after the butterfly event, it got all sunny, and you had the purple rocks in the middle, but there was never many chests to loot.
Yeah, you came out of the event. I guess it looked how it looked before with the whirlpool, and then we went into the event and came out and it got transformed into this. And again, it was not a great spot. I never landed here, but it was just less whack than some of the other versions of Loot Lake
here, and I think that's why a lot of people didn't really land here. There wasn't a lot of chests, and it was very open. Leaky Lake would then leave the game in Season 7 forever. We would never see Leaky Lake ever again. I think Leaky Lake goes forgotten about because it's in this just big jumble of 10 different versions of Loot Lake that people just can't remember at this point. And like I said earlier, not a ton of people really landed Leaky.
Yeah, I feel like it wasn't a POI that was a drop spot, but it was something you would kind of travel through over the course of the game.
Lake. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody who Leaky Lake is their favorite location ever. And continuing on through seasons in Chapter 1, let's go to Season X and talk about Starry Suburbs.
There's a lot in Season X, but Starry Suburbs is a really good one. This is actually, very good.
Now, in my opinion, I think this is the most forgotten about Fortnite location in history.
So in Season X, there was a bunch of these rift zones where they would put up a rift beacon and then it would change that area into something else. And kind of the theme of that Season X was, in a way, time travel, like you see here.
To find somebody who Leaky Lake is their favorite location ever. And continuing,
see, he's traveling through all the realities or whatever at the time. So Starry Suburbs was a broken down, abandoned town in Season 2 of Chapter 1. And then in Season X, the Rift portal version of it was before it was broken down and abandoned. It was restored and everything. And I thought it was really cool at the time because the Rift effect was just that there were stars that you would get loot from. So it didn't interrupt anything. But also, it was kind of a nod or a reference to early Fortnite. Because even the broken down, abandoned version of it went away after Season 3 or 4. So it wasn't in the game for very long. Season X also had Gotham City, which I think was one of the better versions of Tilted. Moisty Palms, I think, could have been a good POI. It was a combination of Moisty Mire and Paradise Palms. But the Rift effect for that POI was anytime you crouched, you turned into a prop. The prop hunt map, so it was just really stupid.
Moving on through seasons in Chapter 1, let's go to Season X and talk about Starry Suburbs. Now, in my opinion, I think this is the most forgotten about Fortnite location in history, and it has been lost in the depths of the Fortnite POI vault void for a couple of reasons. For one, this location came up at a time when, people were just quitting the game. Honestly, towards the end of Season X, people were tired of mechs. The loot pool...
Wait, that was Sparkles. What the heck? Why is Sparkles in Lachlan's game? That's so random that she's in this
people
clip.
were just quitting the game, honestly. Towards the end of Season X, people were tired of mechs. The loot pool was just so chaotic, out of control.
I wonder if she streamed then.
The game was really just a mess at this point, and a lot of people didn't really play the end of Season X. And well, that's when Starry Suburbs was added in September 25th of 2019. And getting into my second reason here, it was removed in October 13th of 2019. So what is that?
Wait, how long was it in the game?
Getting into my second reason here, it was removed. Was added in September 25th of 2019. And getting into my second reason here, it was removed in October 13th of 2019. So what is that? Just over 2 weeks this location was in the game, and it has been gone forever. Funny enough, if you guys will remember, Starry Suburbs was actually a location far before that in Chapter 1, but it was just unnamed, and it was all these houses kind of,
I liked that it was like a nod to the past, or like a reference to this.
Broken down, but Starry Suburbs put them all together, built them up, made it into, well, a little suburb, and it had such like a unique homey vibe. But on top of that, you also got these stars, which literally were shooting stars, would come from the top of the location, drop on the map, and you could search them just like you would search a supply drop, for example, and it would drop you loot, and you could sit there all game and it would just shoot shooting stars down at you. It was so unique. What a great POI, and I really feel sorry for you if you never got to land at Starry Suburbs. It is one of my favorite locations of all time. But all right, that is it for Chapter 1. Now let's move into
Chapter 2. I don't even know what they could do because I quit playing the game during Chapter 2. So POIs that were only there for one season. I mean, I guess there's an insane amount of them because a lot of the boss POIs would change every season.
Chapter 2, and honestly, there are quite a few forgotten locations from Chapter 2. Of course, just those locations that were only in the game for one season and never came back, and one of those in Chapter 2, Season 3 was Rickety Rig. Of course, this was a flooded and blown up version of the rig. That's really what it was. Of course, with Chapter 2, Season 3, the entire map
I quit playing a week into the season, or 2 weeks maybe. I was not happy with the map being flooded.
There were sharks swimming everywhere, and yeah, the rig was blown up and flooded. That's exactly.
I think there's like a vault here you could still get though. I remember landing here. I think there's like a vault was a supply drop or something.
What this location
like
was,
permanently.
It was really underwhelming. There were only 14 chests here.
Maybe that's just how Rig was.
People who are really fond of Rickety Rig were probably the people who were fond of the rig in Chapter 2, Season 2. I believe if I remember correctly, it was like made up of a bunch of islands, and on one of those islands there was like a vault that was already open that had like a supply drop and a chest inside. Other than that, this location is pretty undesirable to land at, especially where it's actually physically located on the map all the way in the corner. And I'll be honest with you, I can pretty confidently say we're never going to see Rickety Rig ever again. I also think, surprisingly, Doom's Domain from Chapter 2, Season 4 is a really lost location.
So this is Pleasant Park, but they put Doom's house on here. And then I think that was the only difference.
In the entire history of Fortnite, mainly because I think it gets so overshadowed.
They should have left it like this. This house that is here is trash normally. The little house.
By Stark Industries in that same season, that I really do think a lot of people forget that Doom's Domain ever existed. Of course, it was Pleasant Park just remodeled to look like Doom's Domain, his house. You could find his mythics there. The Doom boss was there, had a massive vault, a chopper. It was a really cool location. But let's be honest, I think when you think of Chapter 2, Season 4, Doom's Domain is not one of the things that's at the top of your list. Regardless, though, this is an absolutely fantastic Fortnite location for sure. But how about Salty Towers from Chapter 2, Season 5?
This is another one that I think would be really cool. It's a combination of Salty Springs and Tilted Towers, but I didn't play this season.
I mean, what an idea, right? They basically took like a quarter of Salty Springs and then a quarter of Tilted Towers and just mashed them together to make one location in the middle of a desert. I think it sounds like a cooler idea than how it actually turned out. And it's not really forgotten about because of how long it was in the game. I mean, it lasted for 104 days. So you're thinking, right, that's basically 3 months. That's a long time for a location to be in a game. I think it just goes more so forgotten about because there were just a lot better POIs in Chapter 2, Season 5. And I really don't think Salty Towers was at the top of anybody's list. It's not a must-drop location at all. And again, I could see them doing something similar to this, but I don't think Salty Towers in and of itself will ever come back. But unsurprisingly, this is not the only Chapter 2, Season 5 named location
This one is forgotten. I don't even know what this is called.
Have on this list because we got to talk about Hunter's Haven. This is a location that, honestly, before making
it doesn't look bad.
This video, I totally forgot even existed in the realm of Fortnite, and I know so many of you guys did as well. Of course, as you guys know, Chapter 2, Season 5 was a bounty hunter theme, and so Hunter's Haven served as well a haven for the bounty hunters of the Imagined Order. Again, like, this is a relatively small location, only 18 chests here, and it was in the game from the second that Chapter 2, Season 5 launched to the second that Chapter 2, Season 5 ended, so it was in the game for a good amount of time. I honestly think it goes forgotten about because of its location. Like, if you guys look at this location, it's tucked underneath like a bunch of hills. It's almost like it's kind of meant to be a secret hiding place. Like, it's almost meant to be forgotten. You guys know what I'm saying? This is one of those locations that I actually think could have been a really, really good unnamed POI. And it was actually really hard for me to pick because there are so many other Chapter 2 Season 5 locations that could have been on this list.
Is that the Void Mask?
Think like the Coliseum or Stealthy Stronghold. They easily could have been here. So if you were thinking about those for Chapter 2 Season 5, we were on the same wavelength here. But to me, Salty Towers and Hunter's Haven clearly stood above the rest. But anyways, that is it for Chapter 2. So now let's move on to Chapter 3. And as much as I dislike the chapter...
What was a Chapter 3 POI that was only there for one season? I don't even know unless you're counting like the chromed versions of the POIs. I think Camp Cuddle was 2 seasons, right? Camp Cuddle would be my pick for like kind of forgotten Chapter 3 POI. Grave Cave, I think it was there until the end of the season, like Season 3 onward.
Chapter 3 map. I feel like most of the POIs were pretty good and pretty memorable, but Grim Gables from Chapter 3 Season 4 is...
This POI was very good. Like, people hated on the Fortnitemares for this year, but I think having Grim Gable was like a very good Halloween POI. And like very spooky. Like, there is like a ritual down in the basement of this house that you would have to do. And I really liked this because it was a POI I already really liked in Chapter 3 was Shifty Shafts.
Is by far the most lost out there, totally unmemorable location from Chapter 3.
It's a ritual.
This really weird, like spooky kind of haunted estate. You've got a cornfield.
I think he dropped like a suppressed SMG, like it was trash.
Obviously the mansion itself and a shed, and then of course you have the underground mines since this location
look at this. Can't be Fortnite. Look at this weird movement bug. He couldn't move his character.
And then
he's
of
just
course
stuck.
you have the underground mines since this location replaced Shifty Shafts, and this is where the Inquisitor lived, and you'd have to kill the Inquisitor, and there was a whole like ritual going on underneath the estate. It's actually a really interesting and really cool location. I think
agree.
It just goes forgotten about because it's this dark, almost mysterious kind of weird location. I don't know too many people that were...
And like with it being the end of the chapter, I feel like a lot of people already like checked out at that point, you know?
Actually landing at Grim Gables. I think maybe there are some other Chapter 3 POIs you could chuck on here, maybe like Logjam Junction or even Chrome Jam Junction.
Bro, its movement is so bugged.
Cuddle as well. But
yeah, I think Camp Cuddle would be a good one, but I think it was there more than one season.
Gables is one of those locations that you can ask even the most diehard Chapter 3 fans about, and I think they'd probably have a tough time recalling what this location was. But anyways, let's move on to Chapter 4. And I am...
Faulty Splits, 100%. I can't think of any other one that it would be. Maybe some of the Vault POIs at the end of the chapter. But I feel like those aren't forgotten. It's just like they were only there one season because of it being the end of the chapter. Anvil Square was more than one season, right? I think it stayed until the... jungle season. I couldn't think of the word.
I'm so happy that I get to talk about this location from Chapter 4 Season 1 that never came back fatally for the rest of Chapter 4. I still don't understand to this day why Faulty Splits
very good
never came back. I hold Faulty...
My favorite POI of Chapter 4. Unfortunately, it was only there one season.
Splits as a location near and dear to my heart. It is one of my favorite Fortnite locations all time. This was my main drop spot in Chapter 4, and as the name suggests, it was land that was split. One half of it was like a retail side. You had the bowling alley and all the other retail shops, and then above on the hill you had a whole medieval styled area. And I don't think that Faulty Splits goes forgotten about because of its physical location on the map. I don't think it gets forgotten.
I think it's... I mean, I don't even feel like it's forgotten, but if it is, it's just because it was there for one season, and it's not like special or exciting. It's just like a chill town, which is like kind of what I like in terms of POIs, but there's nothing like crazy happening here, you know? There was a vault later on, I think, but I think that's why people wouldn't talk about it as much, maybe. It's just because it is more of just like a vanilla POI.
about because of how long it was in the game. It was in the game for all of Chapter 4 Season 1, and it definitely doesn't go forgotten about because of how much loot
Slap barrels
was there. There was something crazy like 40 to 60 chests here. I simply think it goes forgotten about because Chapter 4 had so many cool locations, especially ones that came after Chapter 4 Season 1. I mean, think of the entirety of Chapter 4 Season 2 with areas like Mega City. Chapter 4 Season 3, yeah, you can kind of throw that one out the window, but Chapter 4 Season 4, of course, you had some of the most iconic...
I couldn't name the jungle POIs. There's Rumble Ruins. I can't name the other ones.
Locations of the entire chapter. And so I think by the end of Chapter 4, just Faulty Splits goes to like the wayside, right? And I don't really understand that. It really sucks that this location only got one season, and I still pray to this day that Faulty Splits...
I feel like the most forgotten about POI in this chapter is here for more than one season. I have to Google the name of it. But the jungle POI that was at the top, I actually liked it. But I feel like this is the one that no one ever talks about. Shady Stilts. I feel like Shady Stilts is a very forgotten POI.
Blitz at some point will come back to Fortnite, but maybe I'll have to wait till like 2029 for Chapter 4 OG, and then I'll finally be able to drop here again. But anyways, let's move on to our final entry for this list.
If they do Chapter 4 OG, the Shockwave Hammer will still be incredibly bugged. Watch.
In Chapter 5. So obviously...
Chapter 5, it's either going to be Hazy Hillside or Freaky Fields, I think. I feel like Freaky Fields is just another Halloween POI that won't get much attention because it was kind of there for only a few weeks, and people were kind of already checked out on Chapter 5, knowing that we're going into, you know, Chapter 2 OG. And then Hazy Hillside, I don't think was bad, but it was just only there at the start, and so maybe people forgot about it. I can't think of anything else.
I couldn't put anything for Chapter 6 on this list, and Chapter 5 was, well, just
maybe the train is there for a while, but who cares?
Couple of months ago. So you might be thinking, you know, how am I going to find a location that's seemingly been, you know, lost and forgotten about, even though it was only a couple...
Or, I don't even remember what it was called. But it got replaced by, like, the underworld biome. Was it Ritzy Riviera?
Months ago. Well, I present to you Shipwreck Shallows.
Okay, this was really forgotten because I was racking my brain trying to remember. This is only like 2 months ago and I forgot about it. But to be fair, this wasn't even a POI. It was just this boat, and then anytime you landed here, people would destroy it with the ghost ship immediately. This POI is so forgotten, it lasted less than a minute into every match.
This location was introduced in Chapter...
The whole lobby is here. Look at this.
5 Season 3 as part of the Pirates of the Caribbean collab. It was released in July 19th of 2024 and removed in August 6th. Guys, that is only 18 days
it's
for
18
a named
days,
location to be on the map. I mean, how can I not put it on this list? You know, you may remember...
Wait, when was it added?
For a named location to be on the map. Pirates of the Caribbean collab. It was released in July 19th of 2024 and removed in August 6th. Guys, that is only 18 days for a named location to be on the map. I mean, how can I not put it on this list? You know, you may remember it now because it was only
gone.
Just a couple months
the POI
ago,
disappeared.
But give it like a year or 2 years, and I guarantee you like only 5% of Fortnite players will ever remember that Shipwreck Shallows existed. And
I feel like people won't remember the name of it, but they'll remember that there was a Pirates of the Caribbean collab, like POI, you know what I mean? Or like mini POI, I guess. But like the fact that it's Pirates of the Caribbean, I don't think it'll be like completely forgotten. But if you ask me 2 years what the name of this POI was, I would not know. Or if you asked me before I started watching this video, yo, what was the name of the Pirates of the Caribbean POI? I don't know if I would have gotten it.
And it really is a shame it only got like 2.5 weeks in the game because it's a really cool location. It is a giant pirate ship.
It's also at the end of an unpopular season because this was at the end of Wrecked.
I don't know if my memory is serving...
Oh, Cosmic was in this game. Bro, there's so many people I recognize in this video. What the heck?
Correct here, but I remember seeing a tweet about Shipwreck Shallows that said that this was the
first
mid-season POI that was added to Fortnite in 2 years, which honestly...
Wait, what? This is the first mid-season POI that was added to Fortnite in 2 years? I feel like that can't be true. Wasn't Grim Gable middle of the season? I don't think it was there at launch. I think that Grim Gable came out in the Fortnitemares update. I guess that would have been almost 2 years, though, because this was mid-2024, and Grim Gable would have been 2022. Did Chapter 4 not have any mid-season POIs? I guess not.
Would be an incredible stat if it was true, which I actually do believe it to be now that I think about it. And
it's like close to being true. It's like a few months off, I guess.
This location doesn't get the love it deserves because I am at the forefront of the Chapter 5 Season 3.
Unless you want to be petty and count the OG season, then it's like a year because those had map changes, but for the most part, we didn't get mid-season map changes in Chapter 4 that I can recall. As far as like big named POIs changing during the middle of the season. Even this, I feel like, doesn't count. I don't know.
3, and even I can admire how cool this location is, but yeah, I can really confidently say this is never coming back to the game, guys. All right, well, I really hope you guys enjoyed that kind of...
I feel like Freaky Fields is definitely going to be a forgotten one. When the time comes. That was the Chapter 5 Halloween POI that replaced Reckless Railways. And then I think Ritzy Riviera as well would be up there. Maybe Hazy Hillside as well.
Dive down memory lane. Let me know in the comment section below if you remembered any of these lost Fortnite locations.
I feel like I remembered all of them aside from Chapter 2 ones that I didn't play for, so there's no way I could remember.
Because I'm willing to bet that at least one of these...
Oh yeah, the Fall Guys thing. Yeah, that was just like not... I don't think... Was that a named POI? That's a good one though. That Fall Guys obstacle course. I think it came out also at the end of Wrecked, right? It wasn't in the game for very long. I remember that happening though.
Locations you had forgotten even existed in this game. Also, be sure to let me in the comments what POIs do you think in the future are going to end up being forgotten about, because I can tell you right now, I do think Hazy Hillside from Chapter 5 is going to be one of those. I agree. But anyways,
I liked Hazy, but it's just, again, it's one of those like just vanilla towns that was only there for one season, and I feel like that doesn't create as much of a memory for some people. Like even the Freaky Fields, like I feel like people might remember that just because it was like the Halloween POI, you know? But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you enjoyed it, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more. Comment down below what you thought of it and, you know, which POI you think goes underappreciated. And his channel will be linked down in the description below, like I said. GG's.